Welcome once again to another episode of the Sports Oriented World Podcast with me, solomonokukuwafua. I'm your host, as usual. I'm the founder and the podcaster of this podcast. And thank you once again to everybody who has been following this journey from day one, from the first episode until now. This is the fifth episode, and of course, today we'll be focusing on the sports business trends and also the 2022 African Women's Cup of Nations qualifiers, and just give you what is happening at that front. But before before I go any further, just want to let all of you know that I'm doing a special episode. This is a tribute to a family member of mine who passed on recently, and is my uncle from my mother's side. And this man meant a lot to my family and even to me personally, even though I know little about him. The only way I could get to reach him was through the phone calls that my mom always gives to me personally. And yeah, he's friendly, he's down to earth, he's caring, he's loving, and at times he could even go out of his way to really be of help to my family. And losing a person of such value is really saddening, but I know it's in God's hands. And even as my mom's family are preparing to give him a proper send-off, I just pray that God will comfort them and everybody that was a part of his life. And yeah, that's why I'm wearing the way I'm wearing. And yeah, that's it for the tribute, and I hope I do justice to those who are either watching me or are listening to me. But other than that, yeah, the topic is going to be titled Sports Business Trends and 2022 African Women's Cup of Nations. Yeah, so that's where I'll be talking about, and it would be as normal the way I used to do. Now the format was I normally do it for 1 full hour, but because there's nothing happening, because I'm awaiting the results of all the matches I gave you the fixtures in the previous episode, then today it would be much of that, but rather be giving you something that has been trading in the world of sports. And that's what is going to help you be informed, help you to think of how the sports industry is being looked upon, or is being looked at from different angles. So that's the purpose of this episode, and let's go ahead and dwell into it. Now, of course, the first one being the 2022 African Women's Cup of Nations. Now, as you're all aware, today being the 16th of February, now today is the beginning of the first leg of the qualifiers for the African Women's Cup of Nations, basically the final round, and it's going to take place from the 16th of February all the way to the 18th. And already one has qualified without ever kicking a ball, as explained in the previous episode, so I'll not repeat that unless otherwise, but I'll just go ahead and give you the fixtures of what is going to be happening during this week. Of course, this is being midweek. Today is 16th of February, tomorrow is 17th of February, and the 18th, which will be the day after tomorrow, is going to be on a Friday. So as the fixtures as being prescribed here, now you have Burundi playing against Djibouti, now you have Zambia playing against Namibia, you have Zimbabwe playing against Botswana, you have South Africa playing against Algeria, you have Tunisia playing against Equatorial Guinea, you have Togo playing against Gabon, you have Cameroon playing against Gambia, you have Senegal playing against Mali, you have Guinea-Bissau playing against Burkina Faso, and you have Nigeria playing against the Ivory Coast. Those are the fixtures for the final round of qualification for the 2022 African Women's Cup of Nations. And just before I give quick predictions on those matches, now according to the CAF's website, just recently they highlighted players, the African players who have done really impressive performances in the past week, and even as they prepare for this final round of qualification, I'll be reading to you the players who really got highlighted by CAF, and see maybe those players will be key in the qualifiers. So of course the first person being Rashidat Ajibade, who is of course from Nigeria and plays for Atletico Madrid. Now what happened to her during the past week is that she scored 2 goals as Atletico Madrid women won 5-0 over Sevilla, and Rashidat Ajibade, who's 22 years old, provided a huge boost for Nigeria, who will take on Cote d'Ivoire through that performance. And congratulations to her, and let's see what she can do in the final round of qualifiers. And then you have a fellow Nigerian who also plays in La Liga Femenino, if I'm not wrong, if my Spanish is correct, and this person is the captain and of course the best player in Africa women's football, and that is Asisat Oshoala, who of course continued the incredible scoring run of form with a 19th goal of the season, with the team's second goal, which is of course Barcelona against Athletic Bilbao. Now with 19 goals so far, Oshoala leads the Golden Boot race in the Spanish top flight with 3 goals above Madrid club women's Geise and teammate Like Martins. So congratulations to her. So both of them being teammates from the Nigerian women's football team. Let's see what they can do, and then we can talk about it at the end of the round. And then another person highlighted by CAF is Thembi Katilana, who is of course the teammate to Rashida Dajibade. What she did in the past week was that she was on target despite Atletico Madrid losing by 2-1, and despite the loss, the 25-year-old scored a 4th goal in 4 starts and recovered the scoring boots ahead of the qualifier showdown against Algeria. So that's what is giving her props, and she's been highlighted by CAF. And then if you go to the Swiss Women's League, there's only one player being mentioned, and that is Jade Boko Sayo, who plays for Servette Women, and she's from Equatorial Guinea. Now for her, the 35-year-old Spanish-born forward scored her 4th goal of the season and Servette's 2nd goal of the day as they trashed Lugano 3-0 to maintain their title defense quest. Now that's what is happening to her, even the way she performed, meaning that she has recovered her scoring boots as she prepares for the double header with Tunisia this week. So that's what is happening for her, and congratulations to her for what she has done. And then if you go to the FAWSL, which is the English Women's Premier League, you have Ashley Plumtree of Leicester City Women. Now for her, she broke her duck in the English top flight in the colours of Leicester as they secured a 3-0 triumph over West Ham. Now she's set to make her senior debut in Nigeria against Cote d'Ivoire this week after 30 appearances for England at various youth levels, and she signed off to join the Super Falcons on high with a fine header and a clean sheet in her side's 3rd win of the season. So congrats to her for scoring and at the same time keeping the clean sheet for her team. And of course her fellow teammate, that is Ode Fulu Tudilu, who plays for Glasgow City. I said teammate, but rather she plays for Glasgow City of Scotland, but meaning they're not from the same league. But yeah, either way, she's been highlighted for finding the back of the net as Glasgow City defeated Celtic 2-0 to keep their title defense alive. The 32-year-old South African striker fired in the opener in the 13th minute as they silenced their visitors in the Glasgow derby at Peters Hill Park. So that's how it went down there in Scotland, and congrats to her as she prepares for the qualifiers. Then if you go to the Turkish Women's League, you have Zenata Coleman, who plays for Fenerbahce Women, and for her, she continued her fine start to life in Turkey following a recent move from Spain as he struck twice in Fenerbahce's 6-1 crushing of Karadeniz Ergelispor. Now she has now notched 5 goals in 2 matches, and with a fine form, the 28-year-old, whose 5 goals helped Namibia see off Tanzania, will be keen to lead a nation past Zambia. So that's how it went down in Turkey for Zenata Coleman, and congratulations for that performance. Then teammates from the same club called Antalya Sport Women, that is Deborah Stone and Gifty Asifua. Now for Deborah Stone, who plays for DR Congo, and Gifty Asifua, who plays for Ghana. Now both of them are huge bargains for Antalya Sport, as their side secured a 4-1 away win at Kirech Burnu. Now for Stone opened the scoring in the 5th minute with the 4th of the season, while the Ghanaian forward grabbed a 7th goal of the season 5 minutes into the second half. So props to both of them, has been highlighted by CAF. Then of course Letabo Madiba, who plays for Fatih Vatanspor. The South African forward did not disappoint in front of goal, as Fatih Vatanspor thrashed Ahmed 6-0 in the Turkish top flight match. After a 3-0 lead, Madiba struck in the 67th minute strike to extend the host lead with her 4th goal of the season. So props to her for her hard work and dedication, and that's how you get to be noticed. And many more, like Zaratu Traore, Basira Toure, I believe it's Traore or Toure, and Emmanuel Msipa. Now all these three are teammates at Fatih Karagumruk. Now the Malian striking sisters and Zimbabwe's Msipa were in breathtaking form for Fatih Karagumruk in an 8-1 massacre of Gaiseri Gençler Birliği. The African trio stole the show as 4 goals from Saratu, a brace from Basira, and a goal from Msipa was all the visitors required to crush their host. The Malians, who are set to face Senegal, head into the break on a high alongside Msipa, who will aim to lead Zimbabwe past Botswana. So that's how it went down there, and congratulations to the ladies. And you have Mariam Huij and Ruth Kipoi. Now Mariam Huij, who's from Tunisia, and Ruth Kipoi, who is of DR Congo, both of them are teammates from ALG Sport. Now Tunisia's Huij and DR Congo's Kipoi added to their goal tallies for leaders ALG Sport in humiliated Il Kadim Belediye Sport 6-0. Kipoi netted a 5th of the season in the 61st minute after the brace scoring Huij's opener, before she wrapped up the big win 5 minutes from time to accrue 14 goals in 9 games. So props to them, congratulations, and continue with that effort. Now in the Israeli Women's League, you have Peace Efi, who plays for Maccabi Kiryat Gat. Now the Nigerian midfielder maintained a hot streak, scoring in a 4th consecutive match as Maccabi Kiryat Gat thrashed Bnot Netanya 3-0. The 21-year-old scored the first and second goals to ensure the Israeli champions open a 4-point lead at the top of the table. She has now taken a tally to 10 goals in all competitions as she joins Nigeria camp for the Cote d'Ivoire clash. So that's how it's going down there, and congratulations to her. Then her teammate Yetunde Aluko, who plays for Apoel Marmorek. The Nigerian forward grabbed her 2nd brace of the season as Apoel Marmorek defeated North Netanya 3-1 in the week. With 5 league goals this season, she will now hope to inspire the Super Falcons against Cote d'Ivoire this week. So congratulations to her, and keep up the good work. So those are the players who are highlighted by CAF. If you go to the website, as they embrace the qualifiers, the final round of qualifiers for the 2022 African Women's Cup of Nations. Now, like I said earlier on, the host Morocco and the Crested Cranes of Uganda have already qualified automatically, one of them being the host, that is Morocco, and one of them being a walkover because of the situation happening in Kenyan football, as the Harambee Starlets had to send a letter to them letting them know that we will not partake in these qualifiers, and that was their fate. Now if you go to the fixtures that is happening from the 16th to the 18th of February, like I mentioned once again, now for the games that are happening today, the 16th of February, that is Burundi playing against Djibouti, Zambia playing against Namibia, Senegal playing against Mali, and finally Guinea-Bissau play against Burkina Faso. Now quick predictions from there, I'm looking at it. I think in the game between Burundi and Djibouti, Burundi should stand a chance to win it because not only are they a bigger country than Djibouti, but also the caliber of players are more than enough to really hammer Djibouti in both legs. If you look at the game between Zambia and Namibia, now that one is a derby because they are from the same region. Of course, they are from the south, and I think it's going to be won by slim margins. But I think whoever scores more goals than the other, then the higher the chances of you qualifying for the main tournament. So I think for me, I'll go with Zambia because, as you can remember very well, if you watch the Tokyo Olympics, a player, if I'm the name, if I'm not wrong, called Banda, was, I believe, one of the top scorers of the tournament, and she has really impressed the whole world with her performances. Even though Zambia didn't qualify for the knockout stages of the women's football tournament during the Olympics, but she got people talking, and I believe Zambia have a chance to qualify for the main tournament. The other game happening today is Senegal play against Mali. This one is also tight. Of course, this is from the West, but from the look of things, I'm going to give my ticket to Senegal because they deserve to be there, and they have the caliber of players who can represent the country very well. Then, of course, the last match of the day today, 16th of February, that is Guinea-Bissau against Burkina Faso. Of course, this one I'm going to give props to Burkina Faso because of the players that they have at their disposal, and even the brand of football from the look of things. So those are my predictions for today, 16th of February. Then if you go to the 17th February fixtures, they also have another. They have one game, that is Togo playing Gabon. So this one, in this case, I'll give it to Togo because, like I said, the caliber of players, the experience, and what have you. Maybe some of these players play in Europe or in North America, and I think they stand a high chance of qualifying for the main tournament. And then if you look at the 18th of February fixtures, they have a number of games. You look at Zimbabwe playing Botswana. This one should be a no-brainer. I'm going to give it to Zimbabwe. You look at the game between South Africa and Algeria. Now this one is going to be very tight, but it's going to be won by slimmest of the number of goals. But I'll give this one to South Africa. Let's support our sub-Saharan Africans and see where it goes. And then Tunisia playing Equatorial Guinea. To be honest, I'll give this one to Tunisia without even talking further. And then you look at Cameroon playing against Gambia. I'll give this one to Cameroon without any doubt. And then last but not least, for me, being the best game of the qualifiers, that is Nigeria playing host to Ivory Coast. So this one, the Super Falcons being the highest ranked women's football team in Africa, and already they have already received the foreign-born players to come and represent their country. You look at Ashley Plantre, you have the Payne sisters, you have Patricia George, and many others of that caliber who are already playing who are yet to debut officially for the Super Falcons. And I think that will give them a boost. Even if you look at they have been performing in their clubs, I think that will give them a higher chance of qualifying for the main tournament. So I'll give this one to the Super Falcons of Nigeria. So that's it for from that front. And now going into the next subject, which is of course the trends that are happening in the world of sports business. And a lot of things have happened in the past few years, and without any further ado, let's dwell into it. And there's some of the trends that are happening in the sports business world. Now you look at one trend like the metaverse, you look at a trend like the Web3, you look at a trend like the DAO, look at the trend like Spark, you look at the trend like cryptocurrency, and last but not least, blockchain. Now these 6 trends are the ones that will dictate the 21st century business of sports, because you look at what they have done so far, it's really generating headlines, generating sales for some of these companies that are pioneering or that are leading the front in terms of the sports business. And just going to give you the definitions, and if my memory serves right, I'm going to give you one example of each on how they are leading in that front. Now, if you start from the tech business, from the tech side of sports business, you have 2 of them. That is the metaverse and the Web3. Now, starting with the metaverse. Now, what is the meaning of a metaverse? Now, metaverse is a network of 3D virtual worlds focused on social connection. Now, you can remember, giving you an example, you can remember when lockdowns became the norm, when the COVID-19 pandemic started, and you could notice some sports leagues or some sports had to innovate and come up with ideas on how to uh, make the competitions continue. And you've seen, for example, in cycling, they had to use that innovation to really you know kick off that conversation of the future of cycling. And even for Tour de France and other similar cycling competitions, they had to use this idea to be able to not only keep fit but also pave way for the future of cycling competitions in case of other force majeures or pandemics that happen ahead. So that's what the metaverse is all about, and that is the example I've given you. If you look at Web 3, or some say Web 3.0. Now, Web 3.0 means it's the third iteration of the World Wide Web, meaning it's in a different phase, and this phase is focused on the concepts of blockchain technology, which I'll explain to you the meaning of the word blockchain later on in this episode. Now, for those who are wondering what's already happening in the Web 3.0, now you have things like cryptocurrency, you have things like NFTs, you have things like Bitcoin, things like that are happening in the world of Web 3. And very famous examples is athletes selling their collectibles through NFTs and the like, and it has really generated a lot of money. Or even seeing some companies or some football clubs or other sports teams collaborating each other and doing business through the digital world, and it has really benefited. And there are so many examples. You look at AS Roma with their digital world of sports business. They have handled it. It's really got people talking, and I'm sure it's a benchmark for some of the developing countries that want to follow in that footsteps in terms of sports business. And that's how the future of the industry will look like. So if you look at the metaverse and Web 3.0, what do they both have in common? They're basically leading the technology side of sports, and that's how it's going down. And if you look at the next trends that really influence the sports industry, you have the DAO and Spark. You can remember in the previous episode where I was saying at the end that I'm going to explain to you what a DAO is and a Spark, and I'm going to explain to you right now. Now, for DAO, those are initials, by the way, in capital letters, and they stand for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Now, what does that mean? It means it is an organization represented by rules encoded as a computer program that is transparent, committed by the organization members, and not influenced by a central government. So, meaning it's the opposite of investor-owned teams, and you've seen that in many ways whatsoever. Even though it's a new concept, but it has already kicked off. Now, the very famous example of a DAO is the one that it was launched not long ago, that is called the CO92 DAO, which is of course led by the class of 92, which is led by the Neville brothers, David Beckham, Nicky Butt, Paul Scholes, and Nicky and one player just skips my head when I'm trying to remember the class name. But those are the players who are already collaborating with the Lim family. Now, the Lim family at the same time created its first ever digital platform using this concept, and they did that in collaboration with Cristiano Ronaldo. Few months before this new organization kicked off, and they are saying They are doing this for the purpose of changing the way sports team ownership is being run, and at the same time benefiting all the stakeholders and the shareholders who are going to be in that organization. And at the same time, the purpose of the DAO which they created is to make sure that it's based on projects, football based projects, which both of them are unanimously focusing on and making sure that all stakeholders and shareholders within that organization benefit, rather than being that one man show that is taking all the credit. So that's what is going down in the Spark world, sorry, in the DAO world. And then if you look at the Spark world, now Spark stands for Special Purpose Acquisition Company. Now what does it do? It is a shell corporation listed on a stock exchange with the purpose of acquiring a private company, thus making it public without going through the traditional IPO process. Now of course this one has really got people talking, and from the look of things, Spark has really done a positive for the world of business. And even though you have critics and haters saying the negative, but it has done a lot for the sports business. Now a famous example of the Spark is recently Tiger Woods starting his own, which is basically focusing on sports technology and golf related ventures, not adventures, for those who are thinking what I'm going to say. And it has really joined the likes of other sports related Sparks that have really gone ahead and revolutionized on how they do business in the sports industry, and that's how it's going down. Yes, Spark is basically the opposite of IPO. Now for those of you who are wondering if Spark is really going to be the future of sports, then trust me, it is going to be the one. Because if you go to the internet and see how many Sparks have really existed, you will be surprised by the number, and it's even more than 100 according to some sources. So it's really trending, that to be a part of the future. Now what do the Spark and the DAO have in common? They're both revolutionizing sports team ownership, and I hope that will be the headlines as years progress. And then if you look at cryptocurrency and blockchain, now these two share a common thing, but before I tell you the commonality, let me break down the meaning of both of them. Of course, study with cryptocurrency. Now cryptocurrency is a digital currency designed to work as a medium of exchange through a computer network that is not reliant on any central authority to uphold or maintain it. So of course, examples of trends that are happening in that front is, of course, sports teams nowadays doing business through cryptocurrency, in terms of transactions, in terms of even the way they do with their contracts and so forth. You look at PSG, the way they are paying players wages, they are using cryptocurrency. And for clubs that are being sponsored by crypto firms, you look at clubs like AS Roma, and many of you. So that's how it's going down in that aspect. If you look at blockchain, now blockchain is a system in which a record of transactions made in crypto are maintained across several computers that are linked in a peer-to-peer network. So of course, both of them being part of that same world of Web 3.0, and they have really revolutionized the sports industry. And yeah, blockchains, the example of blockchain trends in the sports business is, of course, NFTs and what have you that are happening in that front. Yeah, so the commonality of cryptocurrency and blockchain is basically the fintech. Now fintech is the portmanteau of finance and technology. Now with that being said, that is it for this podcast on the sports oriented world, and the topic being the 2022 African Women's Cup of Nations and the sports business trends. It's not only going to happen in 2022, but for generations to come, and that is how the sports industry will be led by. Other than that, for those of you who are new, I'll make sure that I put the links where you can get this podcast, whereby you can download them either as an audio or as a video, and making sure that this is something that is worth a discussion, worth a debate, and worth taking note, because as the future is getting closer and closer, then these are the things you're going to be seeing on a daily basis as time moves on. But other than that, for those of you who are regulars, don't forget to do as mentioned not long ago, and make sure that we grow this network together and see that you are well entertained, well informed, and at the same time being the best through this content of podcasting. Other than that, have a blessed day from wherever you are around the world.